Mr. General Manager.
Let me turn to an issue that is at hand. Beth outlined a series of the elements, but I just want to be able to re-stress kind of just the picture we're in. We are, from a revenue standpoint, for the FY10 budget, that is, which is on the agenda for you to adopt later today, it reflects a revenue reduction of $31 million over what we expected to be able to have. We have been managing that by reducing across the board throughout TriMet budget on average 9% reductions. This has been in terms of managed by both a hiring freeze or by several things, a hiring freeze, limited number of layoffs. We've generally been able to manage this by attrition, normal attrition with retirements and so on. But there have been some layoffs. We've done it by salary freeze as well and executive furloughs. We have also, on the service side, as we have reported to you before, used $7.25 million from the federal stimulus dollars, that is the American Reinvestment and Recovery and Reinvestment Act, ARRA, funds to be able to offset certain of our general fund dollar expenditures in preventative maintenance, which is allowed in the narrow area, and that has been allowed us to not have as serious service reductions, even though that 9% applied everywhere else within the agency. We didn't have to apply the full amount against the service side. Overall, with the federal stimulus dollars, it meant that $23.6 million needed to be able to be reduced. About half of that has come from that 9% in all places other than service. But because the vast majority of our activities are within service, and as you adopted last meeting, changes that are going into effect in September addressed about $6.9 million of reductions that were needed to be able to be made. Those were painful reductions. I think all of you felt that. Those of you who came to the public hearings that we had heard the very true and real stories of people who were very worried about what that would mean to their ability to be able to move around our region. We were able to address many of those by creatively adjusting either schedules or other elements, but obviously $6.9 million worth of reductions were still significant. That got us to about 5% overall in reduction in on the service side, with stimulus offsetting about half of that. What we also told you was that when the actual May numbers came in on payroll tax, and although it was looking bad, that is, all the reports of unemployment and all were showing that we expected to be down, we wanted to wait until at least mid-May or toward the end of May to understand exactly where we were on payroll tax revenues for the first quarter, and were they really tracking against what appeared to be that pattern. And the answer is yes, unfortunately it is. That 12.4% unemployment rate was a little bit lower, that is statewide, a little bit lower within our region, 11.5%. It still means substantially less revenue. As a result, we are looking at additional service reductions that are going to be necessary to be going into effect in late this year. The actual sign-up, and therefore when it actually gets implemented, is November 29th. That's controlled by our union contract in terms of when people did work and when therefore we may make changes. What we looked at this time were really how could we make adjustments in what is what we call our workhorses. That is the very heavily used lines that may have a little bit less ridership during the middle of the day, that is between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And in some cases from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. and then on Saturdays and Sundays. And these are the lines that that carry most of our passengers. From our standpoint, we are very jealous of protecting those lines, and yet at this stage we have found really no alternative but to make some what we would consider relatively minor adjustments, but by the very nature of how many many buses are out on these lines, even minor adjustments can save substantial sums of money. What is being proposed is on 19 lines, you have that in your packets, on 19 lines that will be making adjustments to the schedule in that midday, most of the time, that is for most of the lines in that midday. In some lines, not only the midday, but in the 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. and on weekends. Those slight adjustments are generally in the 2-minute to 3-minute range of schedule. On the outer parts of those lines, in a few exceptions, that may have to go to 4 minutes change of schedule, but still it will, we're shooting at that 2 to 3 minute change. Now, what that means is that bus doesn't come quite as often by that 2 to 3 minute. It means that during that midday or evenings, they might have a few more people on it because by that adjustment, we'll probably be taking a bus out of that rotation, which is where the dollar savings comes. But we believe that this is necessary to be able to meet the additional gap that we have in the revenue, reduction in revenue that Beth outlined as well. Now that 2 to 3 minutes, it sounds like so little. Why didn't we address that earlier? And the point is that these are our workhorses. They are more than just our frequent service lines. They are other lines as well. They carry somewhere probably in the 75 to 80% of all of our riders. And what we did not want to be able to do is to affect that very, very important service, even in small adjustments. We find it necessary, and that is why we are proposing to take this out to public comment. This is not an action item for you. It is, at this stage, this is something that we'll be taking out to public comment and seeking input. I would stress that these are the lines that, as I've said, that really do carry most of our riders. We would expect, as the economy recovers, that this would be the first place we would restore that service. Even that 2 to 3 minute difference, we think, is important and is important to our riders. So the proposal is to affect 19 lines. And you understand, when we call a line, we think of it as by the number, but oftentimes those lines have a east side or a west side or a north and a south piece to it under the same number. What is outlined before you is each element of what those service changes are. We would bring that back to you after public comment and obviously keep you fully apprised of any changes to that. What is necessary, however, is to be able to close $3.5 million worth of budget gap on the basis of these service changes. We will be seeking public comment on this and will, as I said, report back to you.